I'm fully aware this is not the most exciting way to start a video, but reason I'm showing you this, if you were absent, please go to class 58. Class 58, you're going to see two rectangles. One is Imperialism in China assignment, and the other is a PowerPoint. So please either print this out or put it up on a screen and use the PowerPoint to fill it in. We began a brand new unit, Chapter 11, which has to do with imperialism in China. Now, the PowerPoint itself here, I am not going to give it full justice as I did in class. Obviously, this was the crux of the class, and we were, involved with this and talking about it for, longer than what these videos are. So I'm just going to give you the quick and dirty here to give you a lay of the land, but most likely you're going to use the PowerPoint or a friend or myself to fill in the blanks if you were absent. So here's the quick and dirty of China. So we begin our story, China looking good, looking strong with the Qing dynasty, this huge nation. You might be saying, wow, they're doing well. They are doing well. But the Chinese story during this era is a sad story, full of calamity and tragedy and hardships for the Chinese people, okay? So starting off, we have the Manchus, which is a minority group ruling China, the Han Chinese. So again, if you have a small minority ruling a nation, the majority is generally not too happy about it. And if we learned anything from revolution, you can guess what's going to happen in a little bit here with China. Now, the Manchus did expand. They conquered a lot of area, including Tibet, and we're going to talk about Tibet in Unit 4, so hold that thought. And they eliminated dangers from its land borders. However, the danger was coming from the sea. And you can see the beginning of the slow decline of China here, with Russia taking a piece of the northeast and the northwest. Now, in terms of the economy, they're focusing their energy on infrastructure. It's not a bad call. And they didn't want to tax people to make them happy. Again, you got money in your pocket, you're generally happy, and you had some good commodities that the world wanted, porcelain, silk, and spices. But here, think about this. In the age of imperialism, where these imperial nations are all looking to get rich, and they know China's got a lot of profitable stuff, well, you can guess they're going to be a target for those nations. Now, in terms of religion, you see China trying to hang on to its roots. Okay, China has this syncretism belief system which has Confucian elements, Buddhist elements, Taoist elements. But we see Christianity growing at this time, and China flat out outlaws it. Now, think about this. If you are a Christian nation, a majority Christian nation, you're not going to be real pleased about that, and it's going to cause some of these nations to not think fondly of you. Okay. Now, on an intellectual level, we see this European influence, this cultural diffusion infiltrating China, and China gets to a point they say, enough, enough. We are going to do something called the self-strengthening movement. Keep everything in-house. The rest of the world, leave us the heck alone. That's economically speaking, religiously speaking, culturally thinking, leave us be. But these imperial powers are not going to let them be. Okay. Now, you counter this with the majority, the peasants, being upset, being ruled by this minority group that's becoming incredibly wealthy and powerful. You can see this is a perfect storm for unpleasantness, which is about to come up. And we see a ton of internal rebellions. The White Lotus Rebellion, where Buddhists attack government officials because of high taxes. It was a bloody, ugly mess. Okay? And then we see Europe showing up. Britain putting opium into Chinese borders, and they estimate 14 million Chinese became addicts, and they were trading tea and silk for opium. And Great Britain was getting the better end of that deal, I assure you. And then we see this really horrible internal conflict, the bloodiest civil war in human history. 20 to 30 million dead, 14 years. You compare that to the American Civil War, 620,000 dead, 1861 to 1865. That's a drop in the bucket compared to what the Chinese went through, okay? And again, this religious overtone, that was the crux of it. And you can see that first map, big bad China is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, okay? Now, with the Taiping Revolution, we see some precursors to communism. And China eventually does become an official communist nation in the 20th century. But you can see it's this way of thinking, this communal way of thinking, is kind of simmering in the Chinese psyche right here. And then we have the Opium Wars. On top of all the civil wars, we have the Opium Wars, where China fought Britain, and Britain won easily. And they humiliated China. They gave them a rotten, rotten deal where they took Chinese land, and they profited greatly from the Chinese at the Chinese expense. It is not a good story, and you can see some primary sources of these 14 million opium den. I guess the modern equivalent would be heroin. We have a drug issue in America. Yeah, that's a euphemism. That's an understatement. But China was facing it too, and you just stop caring. You just want to get stoned to the bone all the time and cease functioning like you would. Okay, and it was very, very problematic to the point where you can see how skinny these guys are. When you are so addicted to opium, you will take your money and go, food or opium? That's a no-brainer. Opium. They've done experiments with chimpanzees, and chimpanzees will starve to death, and chimpanzees are given food or drugs. They choose drugs. They starve to death. It's really destructive, horribly destructive. And again, this treaty system, China is paying out to these foreign nations at the expense of them, okay? So you see the spheres of influence here, and what I showed you initially, this big, powerful China, we see Russia's got its piece, Japan's got its piece, Britain's got its piece, France has got its piece, Germany's got its piece. So in terms of its sphere of influence, we see these foreign nations putting their own influence into China, where China is losing their own autonomy and identity. Okay, and the decline continues. Okay, the Opium Wars, Civil Wars, it shows that China's weak. These imperial nations, you know, they're like sharks. They smell blood in the water. And people just went after China. They're like, hey, there's a lot of wealth here, and it's pretty easy to get. So China suffered greatly at the hands of these foreign powers. And we have an opium war, a second opium war. Russia goes after China twice. We see the French coming in. We see the Japanese coming in. An 8-nation force, the Boxer Rebellion, which was, you know, people died in the millions and millions. So China really wasn't able to defend itself because China didn't go all into industrialism, where these other nations that I've just mentioned, they went all out for industrialism. And industrialism, not only can you make, you know, a toaster and a washing machine and a car, you can make weapons. Industrialized weapons will beat non-industrialized weapons. Always. Always. Okay? Here, quick analogy. I know I'm supposed to be quick here. If the smallest student in my class brought in a firearm, now I'm a big guy, and you're 4'11", 98 pounds with a gun, you win. Doesn't matter how big or strong I am, you win. You get that, okay? So by 1900, China was controlled by Europeans economically. There's lots of trades between Europe and China, and that connotes like a positive, but again, it was an unequal trade. Hey, I'll trade you this filet mignon for this can of dog food, okay? It's that kind of thing. China got the dog food. Europe got the filet mignon, if you get me. And it, like, balance of trade favored Europe, big time. And they lost their silver. They lost their wealth. The government was ineffectual. The people were angry, infighting, a total mess. And you can just see the nations of the world taking a piece of China, taking a piece of China. Okay, and they got fully exposed, you know, by the end of the 19th century. China was getting just annihilated. And they suffered greatly because of that. And this, I know I'm reiterating the same thing, but you can see all of these foreign nations taking a piece. I think the Russian bear is pretty cool to look at for you art people, okay? Now, they're trying to figure out, what do we do? Okay, shoot, it's a problem here. So what do we do? So they tried to reform things. They tried to change things, but it didn't work, okay? It just did not work. And this Boxer uprising was this movement to destroy anything that is foreign. But again, the Boxers was their nickname because they're going into battle and they felt their martial arts could dodge bullets. Their martial arts could not dodge bullets. Okay, so you could guess that. And the 8-nation force that invaded Beijing, they put China in their place, saying, nope, you are not going to fight us. We are going to do our thing, and you know, tough. So at this point, China's pretty demoralized, and you can see, again, more foreign influence coming in here, this kind of thing. So they fell. Okay, no surprise here. So we see the fall of the Manchu or the Qing, where Western traders' influence changed China drastically, and the government stuck with tradition rather than westernizing. It was confusing. It was unstable. It was a mess. So hopefully you get the point of this. So the legacy of this imperial era, China is this enormous nation, okay? And because of the enormous nation and their wealth, they became a target. And what it showed was it created this relationship between China and the rest of the world. And you can see the way China's treating the world today. I am sure they are happy to even the score from history, if you get me. So anyway, in class we talked about this a lot more, and I know this wasn't hugely detailed, but again, if you were absent, please take that assignment sheet, either watch this video, talk to a friend, get in touch with me, or go slide by slide, and hopefully that gives you an overview of imperialism in China, and we'll get into more detail over the next couple days. So thank you for watching.